fishing? Cool. Nice. Yeah, you got to go really early, huh? Macy, what are you doing? Okay. Macy's telling us something. Oh, that's sweet. That sounds cool. I want to get sorted for the house. Jake and then one shot.
I spent all weekend grinding Rayman and Rec Room and Gun Club. Gun Club, so I can get like the cool guns that literally are trash and do nothing.
Well, what Rayman? I didn't know anybody played Rayman still.
It's really fun. I've been grinding it and I've gotten to the boss level on the first area, so I completed all the areas, and now I'm going on to the second campaign on each area, which has a boss level and a boss.
So that's just a remaster of an old platformer, right? Like I don't think they've made any new Raymans.
It's Rayman Legends. Origins. It's one of the newest. Yeah, it's really fun. But everyone was talking about me and my friends got some of us together in like space armor Jumbotron that we can all hide in full S rank, so we can flex on little children who don't have full S rank.
Nice.
Okay. Wait, just real quick. We raided servers and we tried making them civilized societies, but then they started sending militias and fighting back, so we had to go to a new server and reset.
Cool, awesome. For those who don't know, Rayman is an also ran, meaning a C tier, C list platforming character from like the 90s. He's not even as popular as like Crash Bandicoot or Sonic the Hedgehog, but he tried to be. But it's nice to hear some kids still play his games. Sorry, computer people, and currently Ella. This is the most boring start to a video ever. Who can read number 1 out loud, please? Carson.
Patria Vestra Semper et Libera Quare Discipula Mea Ibi Romanete.
Rubeneta. Yeah, good. Well, let's hear from you and anybody else who wants to translate this. What did you get, Carson?
Your fatherland will always be free. Therefore, my students, remain there.
Okay. Sounds pretty good. Actually, it's like 100% correct. Does anybody else want to share? There's always different ways of getting a correct translation. Just Carson tonight? Caden, what did you get? Say the second part one more time. Okay, remain. You're just leaving out Ibby, which is there. Remain there. Anybody want to share yours? Same thing as that? Okay, actually, when I look at this one, it is pretty clear cut. There's actually not too many things we could do differently with this translation. There's kind of like one main thing we want to do with the sentence. And it's like probably going to end up being pretty much the same for everyone. So let's analyze it and make sure we understand how Carson, Ava, and Caden arrived at their translations. Soraya, what case is patria? Case and number of patria. Feel better, Riley. Yeah, it's nominative. Is it singular or plural? Number. Yeah, okay, so that starts out things really easy because we see a noun, it's the first noun, it's the first word, and it's nominative, so it's probably just our subject, which is great. Good. Wait, sorry, I like asked you this, but then I don't remember what you said. You go by Samantha or Sam? Okay, so you do go by Sam. Okay. I will probably not quite ask you a question about grammar because this is probably all nonsense to you. There's that saying, it's all Greek to me when you don't understand something. Well, this is all Latin to you, I'm sure, at this point. But eventually, maybe by next week, we'll start to kind of start to shake things up. Caitlin, what word goes with patria? Is it just the country? Well, who said that? Oh, okay. I think you need to be careful about enunciating Caitlin and Kaylin. But yeah, Vestra, right? What part of speech is Vestra, Caitlin?
I don't know.
You don't know? Is it a noun, a verb, an adjective? It's a very boring example of this part of speech. Maddie?
You should just call her Catelyn.
Catelyn?
No.
Catelyn's kind of cool sounding.
I hate that.
I think it sounds cool. What part of speech is it, anybody?
Don't you dare call me that.
Devin?
No.
Vestra is not a noun. Patria is a noun. What is Vestra, anyone? Because it's clearly going with the noun. What words go with nouns? I don't have corona. My eyes are watering because of the smoke, I guess. Grace? What? It's an adjective, okay? So hopefully you guys would have like been quicker to recognize that if it was a more exciting adjective, like the great country or the beautiful country or like many countries or something. But words like your, my, our, that's meus, tuus, noster is our, tuus is your, meus is mine. Those are adjectives. They're very boring, unexciting adjectives, but they do describe a noun in the same way any adjective does by explaining like who the noun belongs to, basically, right? So Vestra is an adjective. I will project all the answers for the blanks once we get through it. But anyway, semper is an adverb, modifying the verb erit. Semper just means always. Erit, what tense is erit? Alora. Is erit future tense or imperfect? Chicken Boy even has provided this handy dandy little guide for how to. It's a little confusing, but actually all of the. It's the key to understanding the tense of verbs that are present tense. So erit. Do you see an O or an I or a U, or do you see an A in erit? Yeah, it's future. It's future. Yeah. So because you see an I, you don't see an A. So it basically just means will. It means he or she will, but we already know what the he or she is. We don't need to insert he or she because we have a subject. We have a nominative singular for our third person singular verb. So your country always will be free. So I explained this, guys. This is it's like just the future form of S. We've known S for a while. It means is. This is the future form of it. It means will. So sometimes it's just going to be will. Sometimes it's going to be will be. It kind of depends on how it's showing up. In this case, we don't want to say will free. We want to say will be free. Free is an adjective here. It's describing patria. We call that a predicate adjective because it's modifying patria by way of a predicate. If you guys want to sound fancy, predicate is just a fancy word for verbs. Anything that's included in the verb, including the verb and the adverbs it might be going with, is called the predicate of a sentence. So if an adjective is like modifying a noun through like a verb, which is what's happening here. It's not the free country. It's the country is free or will be free. It's a predicate adjective. Anyway, good. Quare, how did Carson and Ava and Kaden know this was therefore instead of why?
Because it's an I.
No, it's not like a verb kind of thing. No, Ava? Yeah, because this is an exclamation mark and not a question mark, I'm like, we're not asking a question, right? That'd be weird if we were saying, why my students remain there? Like, that wouldn't, or sorry, I should have done it the other way. Therefore, my students remain there? It's not a question. If it was, this would probably be why. It's not a question, so it's going to be therefore. It's basically just igator. It's the same as igator. We have two therefores for whatever reason. It's kind of weird. My students, that should have been really easy. Remember, this is not me, it's my. It's mayus, maya, mayum. And then ibi is our new word there. It's an adverb. And reminata is what verbal mood? Anyone out loud? Apparently is reminete. Devin?
Imperative.
It's an imperative. That's why it's not like I remain there, you remain there, or it remains there, or we remain there. It's just remain there. Okay, this should be a pretty distinct, like, hopefully y'all look at this in the first part of it, you're like, oh, that's from that verb remain. And then the second part, you're like, wait, what? That's not OST must have sit. It's not even ARE or ERE. It's not an infinitive. It's an imperative. It's a command. And we get that by dropping off the RE from the infinitive, right? The infinitive, the unconjugated version of it is reminere. This, we drop the RE off. And if you just drop the RE off and leave it, that's a singular imperative. But imperative is actually, like, the number matters. If you're commanding a bunch of people to do something, you need to add a TE, apparently, for whatever reason. It's not something that exists in English. If we tell someone to do something, we just say the verb. We just say go. We don't have to say, like, go to one person, but if we tell a bunch of people to go, we say it differently. So that is kind of weird. Maybe English does it better. But it does need to reflect that he's talking to multiple students, right? Nominative, plural students. And what case is my students, anyone?
It's going to be vocative.
Yeah, it's actually vocative. And how do we know that it's vocative and not nominative? Well, we just know. Because of the context, you can kind of tell he's talking to somebody. You'll often see vocative next to an imperative, where he's like commanding these people who he is calling out vocative style. My students. Remember, our vocatives just look exactly like nominatives, usually 90% of the time. but you should be able to recognize that they're not actually the subject. The subject of this sentence is actually an understood you all, which is confusing, but imperatives are actually technically second person. It's kind of weird, but if you think about it, when you're commanding someone to do something, it's like from the perspective of the person doing the commanding, that person counts as a quote unquote you, right? So the imperatives are technically second person. So the subject it's basically a drop subject, but the subject is technically you all. Good, very good. And here are all the answers to a lot of lag. Yeah, it's from the smoke. That's true. I agree. Oh yeah, the chicken boy is telling us about imperatives. Formed by dropping the ARE or the ERE off an infinitive, adding TE if it's plural. Okay, but there are the answers to the blanks there. So make sure you have all the correct answers and make sure you understand how to get them. If you have wildly different answers for any of these, please tell me and so we can talk about it. Who thought this guy was who thought Erit was first or second person? Anyone? Be brave. No. Who thought you thought it was third?
Yeah.
Good. Who thought Vestra was an adverb? A noun? Anyone? Who didn't even know it, but now you understand it's an adjective?
Yeah.
So yeah, boring adjectives, but my, your, and our, they are adjectives. Who didn't even know what part of speech meant? You know?
It means adjective.
Yeah, but I mean like what that category is. It's like nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, etc. Right? Okay. Anyway, the only one you were not allowed to know was the very last one. Okay, who can read number 2? Ellie, you want to read number 2? If you're there.
I think we forgot the disabled thing.
Okay.
Ella hasn't been here this whole time.
Oh no!
For what?
I always do that. How did I forget?
You never let Ella in.
Yeah, Ella, I'm sorry. We just checked the first translation. But you should thank Carson for reminding me to disable the waiting room.
So
Sorry.
it's fine.
Ella.
Y'all apologize to Ella for.
Bye. It's not that bad.
Yeah, we missed. Well, I'll at least show you. I mean, I'm sure you got the totally right answers, but yeah, I've gotten so used to. I always automatically disable the waiting room. It didn't happen today, but that's number 1. We just checked number 1. So there you go. I'm sure you did good on it. And then I said, Ella, do you want to read number 2? And that's when Carson told me that I hadn't even let you in on the call. All right, guys, voices off. Voices off. Chill out. But Ella, would you mind now reading number 2? Or you could say no, because maybe you're mad that I let you in late.
No, it's fine. I'll read it.
Thank you.
Si nunc conebitis satis haberi poteratus.
Will, do you want to share your translation?
I actually didn't get a translation.
Okay,
this one?
well, technically yours isn't due till tomorrow, so you're fine. I don't know how that works, but just you can just retranslate these now because I just put it up like late yesterday anyway. But yeah, so you can retranslate them in time for tomorrow when it's actually due for you. But yeah, you're fine.
Okay. But if I had to translate it like right now, I would say if bitis is imperfect, right?
Not imperfect.
Oh,
that's
future.
Yeah.
So then if you all will dine now,
Good.
you
Hold that thought. You're totally right with the first 3 words, but the second that there is something kind of weird going on. We've never used satis before. I think we got satis last chapter, just like it never actually came up in the sentences.
isn't it enough?
Yeah, it
The
means
word enough.
enough. So anyway, Ella's probably hot on the trail of this complete translation. But let's hear from Natalie and Carson. Natalie, what'd you get? If you will die now, you will be able. You say the last part again. You will be able to have now. Very good, Carson.
I thought you said die.
No,
If you all dine now, you will be satisfied.
you will be satisfied. So you will be satisfied is a little too loose. It's a little too fast. You're kind of like not quite giving Potteritis the respect it is due by saying you will be satisfied or whatever, even though that is technically the sense of the sentence. It's not like technically correct. Ava? Yeah, you all will be able to have enough. Very good. So it sounds like the people who are translating at the very least know that this is second person plural. What person and number is it, Miss Fisher? Person and number, first, second, third.
First.
You think this is first person?
No.
If you do, we need to do Latin 101 intervention.
I'm dumb.
No. Matt. So honestly, anyway, I know y'all say that as a joke. What you're doing is you're messing around with this thing called self-deprecating humor, where people kind of like make fun of it. That's fine. It's like normal to make fun of yourself to some extent, but just like sarcasm, you can only get so much mileage.
Funny, I'm making fun of myself to be honest.
I know. Okay, see, that's more self-deprecation though. You saying that is more self-deprecation. So it's just when you make fun of yourself. It's when you're saying like, oh, I'm a mess today. Like I couldn't get my homework. I'm so like messy or whatever it is. Just like sarcasm, you get limited mileage out of the sense of humor. You can't do too much with it, and sometimes it can take you into like a more negative place. So let's try to be positive. I actually don't really want to hear you guys like making fun of yourselves. Like I know that sounds weird because like for you it might just be a joke. It might be very lighthearted. It's not a big deal, but it's just kind of like I don't know. It's just like a little. It's kind of like a downer type of thing. So. Stay upbeat, Maddie. You're very intelligent. Okay, and that's the other thing. Sometimes when people are self-deprecating, it seems like they're just wanting other people to like compliment them or something. But then you try to compliment them, and they're like, "Oh no, actually, I do think I'm
I'd rather
the
be
opposite."
alone.
Huh?
I'd rather be
Alone?
I'd rather be alone. Like,
What does that mean?
I don't like being in large crowds. I'd
Oh,
rather be alone, like,
yeah.
alone.
That's called
With
being
nobody
introvert.
talking to me.
That's called introverted. Yeah, some people they recharge when they're alone. They still like being around people, but they can only be around people for a certain amount of time. If you're extroverted, you recharge by being around people, and you don't want to be alone for too long. People usually tend to be one or the other, or somewhere kind of in between. But anyway, that's some psychology 101 for some reason. But Maddie, what letter or letters is canobitis and poteritis ending? Yeah, but is it just S? Because think of all of our verb endings. We have O, S, T, must, tis, and its. So which one is it? Because this is the key to everything. Honestly, sometimes I think nouns aren't even important. It's all about the verb.
This one. No.
Second singular or plural? So is it ending in S or GIS? Yeah, so and that just makes a tiny little difference. Both second singular and second plural are both, the subject of them is going to be you, but technically for second plural we should say you all or y'all to be very specific. Now if you said you on a quiz, I'd be fine with it honestly. In English we use you in the plural all the time. We don't always have to. Part of that is because there is not a good go-to second person plural pronoun. That's the only one where we have to add an adjective to it. We can't just say you, we have to say you all. And people sometimes think y'all sounds weird. The South is okay with y'all. The internet is okay with y'all. But some parts of the country still think y'all is kind of like a country thing. It's not awful grammar. It's like a perfectly good contraction for a second person plural pronoun. And other like countries and languages just have a second person plural pronoun. We don't. That's why we end up with things like y'alls and yous guys and you guyses, which sounds really bad. Y'all sounds way better than those. So anyway, this is all to say, y'all still have, y'all need to really just be understanding your verb endings and what pronouns correspond with the ending. So I'm going to point to an ending and say the ending, and then y'all are going to respond with the pronoun that goes with that ending. So I'll go in order at first. O, S,
You.
T,
You.
three of them must. Tis,
Y'all.
it,
They.
S,
You.
must,
We.
O,
I.
it,
They.
T.
You.
Okay, we got to do it 7 more times because Maddie fully zoned out for some reason. Maddie,
What did I do?
you were like laughing.
Oh, was it?
So what's the pronoun for O? Okay, just Maddie now. Pronoun for O.
I don't know.
What's the first person pronoun?
Um,
When you read a diary, it's written from the perspective of somebody who's referring to themselves as.
I.
Yes, I.
Uh,
S.
no.
Yes, you. So you really have to know this. This is your second year of Latin, or it's like the middle.
I'm sorry.
T.
Half the things that you told me.
T. It's 3 of them.
He, she,
Yeah, it's the gendered ones. Must.
we,
Tis.
y'all,
It's.
they,
T.
he, she,
O.
I,
Must.
we,
S.
you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'll leave you alone now. All right. But yeah, like everyone needs to know that. And I know like when a teacher says something like that, like everyone needs to know this. It's like, okay, like, yeah, I want to know it, but like I don't yet. So like, how are you going to help me know it? That's me trying to help y'all know it. But I've like reproduced that chart like a million times. Hopefully everyone has a noun and verb chart. It's also, this has been reprinted on your chapter 6 summary. So it's the first little chart on the chapter 6 summary. The chapter 6 summary is just like filled with various verb charts, and that is one of them. Sorry, Ella, by the way, I was just pointing at the big poster in the middle of the room, but I think you're pretty good at verb endings. All right, but yeah. But anyway, so looking at the endings here, we know the subject is you all. That's a like very, very important to translating, is knowing that the subject is you all. So C is if. So if you all dine now, or will dine. We'll talk about why you can actually get away with not saying will dine, even though this is what tense, Richard? What tenses cannot fit this?
Future. Right?
Yeah, it's future because it's BI. If it was BA, that'd be like were dining. It'd be imperfect past tense. It's future though. And then we see something about enough. We don't know what to do with enough right away. We see an infinitive. We don't know what to do with an infinitive. It means to have. We don't know what to do with it yet. Then, okay, here's our possum. So it's you, also still future tense, will be able to have enough. So you literally have to work right to left on the last part here. You know, like you all will, future tense is coming from the I, be able to have enough. So, all right, what's that, Kaylin? I guess so, but you're going to miss the cool fill in the blank answers right here. Yeah, so if you dine now, you all will be able to have enough. So the reason I'm putting the first will in parentheses, this came up yesterday. It's going to be a hard thing to remember, and it's not really bad if you like did this on a quiz. But sentences that start with C, what do we call them? Anyone starts with a C? I mean, the word C, sentences that start with the word C, we call them a word that starts with the letter C. We haven't talked about it too much. It's called a condition, meaning like if this happens, then this will happen. So it's called a condition, and in the condition of a sentence in English or Latin, those verbs are the future tense. But in English, it just sounds weird to put the first one in future tense, even though it technically is. And my explanation for this last week was like, if I said to somebody, if you will eat that pizza, you will have a stomach ache, they'd be like, why are you talking like you just moved to America and like you don't know English? Because that first will sounds weird. I would just say, if you eat that pizza, like parentheses in the future, you will have a stomach ache. So the will in the second part, in the result clause, is what it's called in a fancy grammatical term, that is allowed to have the will. So that sounds fine. But the first will, it just sounds weird, even though it is future. So anyway, if this was on a quiz, you would be fine to put will. You'd also be fine to not put will. But you would need to for sure tell me that the cannot tenses was in fact future tense, even if you're almost translating it as though it's not. Oh yeah, we are getting construction now. Because we had those weird buildings with like at the beginning of last year when the school first started.
Is
So
that like a little house?
I don't know. I guess they just put those up for like the contractors to like hang out in. Yeah. What were you gonna say, Richard?
That's what you said.
Okay, so it's like
It's like a little house.
yeah, okay, and that's what the cones are for. I see. Ella, we're just yeah.
They come from other states, and
Oh.
so they bring those like the
We need one of those for our classrooms, honestly. Like, if we ever run out, well, that's why they're here, so we don't run out of classrooms next year. So I guess we won't need those. But yeah, it's like a little temporary building out by the pond. Ella, maybe you saw it, or you'll see it when you come back for drama stuff. But interesting. It looks tiny, but maybe it has AC and like a TV. Oh yeah, she's drawing. Oh, thank you. See, Ella's concerned with the actual Latin, not the construction workers' little house. Good, thank you for that. And then what else? There's something else I wanted to change or fix. No? Okay.
And
I don't need a period. So haberi is an infinitive. We should recognize these infinitive because they end in ere or are. They're not ost must ascent. But every time you see a possum, you will also see an infinitive in that sentence. It might not be right next to possum, but it'll be around. So when you smell a possum rooting around, you're gonna be looking for an infinitive. All right. Do possums smell? I have no idea what that even means. Who can read number 3? I swear there was like one more thing I wanted to say about this. Oh, what?
Didn't you want to talk about why we can drop the will?
Oh, well, I kind of talked at length about that. Yeah. So just because it sounds weird in English, right? If you will be bothered by the sound of jackhammers, you will not like being in Miss McCullough's class a month from now. Instead, I would say if you don't like the sound of jackhammers, you will be distracted in Miss McCullough's. So anyway, I would use will for the results, not the condition. Yes. Indeed. Who can read number 3? Richard? Thank you.
Non-debaters, verba, sandwich, magistrate, nostre, amateur, male.
Very good. Sam, did you weren't raising your hand.
You're so good.
Oh, okay. I almost thought you wanted to read. I was like, yeah, you should read. Yeah, you'll get the hang. Latin is, the alphabet's the same as English, right? That's nice. Most of the letters are pronounced the same. All the C's are hard, meaning it's always k, never like a soft C, like an S sound. All the G's are hard. It's never a J sound. There are no J sounds in Latin. I's are like y sometimes if they're the first letter. That's about it. Okay. Who wants to share the translation for this? Richard?
No.
No. Anybody? So we're like a month away from me like forcing people to share their translation.
I got it.
No, Richard changed his mind. So let's hear from Richard, Devin, Ava, and Carson. Ava and Carson have shared a lot, but only, yeah, Richard, go ahead.
You must not blame the same master, my friend.
The same. Oh, that's very close. You kind of mixed up what Sana was going with, and you left out verba. If you had not left out verba, you would have been like, it would have been perfect. It was very, very close. Maisie? So you also left out verba, kind of like Richard. Interesting. But otherwise, it's correct, Caden? Nice. Okay, it's the same words or the sound words. I like that. Anybody else? Ava? You said not blame our teacher? Okay, so let's figure out what's
Wait.
going. What, Carson?
You said I could share my.
Go ahead. Shh, wait, chill.
I got you ought not to blame the word on our same teacher, my friend.
You ought not to. Interesting. So Carson, can you tell me? Since now we know Maddie Fisher has. We'll do one student at a time. Maddie was today. Now Carson will also be today. What is in terms of focusing on verb ending and making sure you fully understand verb ending?
Wait.
Yeah, now we know you mastered this. But Carson, it's not you. It's what? What person and number is debemos?
It's first.
Yeah, it's first plural. So the subject is we, right? So why did? And I really need Maddie to chill out.
I'm looking at
Okay, but you can't like have me like focus on you for like 3 minutes trying to help you with verbs and then start like distracting the top of
Wait,
it.
I'll just shut up.
Very selfish. Okay, so the thing about first person plural ending, whose subject is we, is that it does end in S. So if you don't catch the M and the U, you will think it's second person. So it's kind of tricky. Good thing though that M and U seem kind of like, I feel like they kind of stand out. Like to me, it doesn't seem too hard to notice, but I'm a Latin teacher. So anyway, like if you were working on it quickly, yeah, you might just think, oh, that's second person. You should, or you owe, or whatever. But it's we should, we owe. It's M-U-S. That's where we get the we from. And but Carson did know it should, not owe. If debemos was the only verb in the sentence, it'd be like we do not owe, but it's not the only verb. Just like possum, it can take a complementary infinitive. So it's we should not blame. That's the infinitive. I draw my infinity sign from math. Blame. And so what are we going to blame? Let's stop again for a second and ask Macy, what are our groups? What are our word groupings here? I mean, our noun phrases. What are the nouns and what are their adjective buddies that go with?
goes with Sana.
Yeah, it's pretty clearly one of like these go together, verb and sana. And what else? There's one more. Macy or anybody? Yeah. Yeah, magistri, nostri. Those go together as well because they both have the AE. So, which one are we going to not blame? Which one should we not blame? Verba sana or magistri nostri? Well, how do we tell? What is the case of verba sana, Natalie? I think Chicken Boy is eventually going to remind us that verba is from verbum verbi. Maybe not. Maybe not. He will eventually. But it, huh? Exactly. It's accusative because it's a direct object. Now that's kind of tricky. So that's the thing we're going to blame. That's the thing that's going to take the action of the verb because those are accusative. You might think, wait, they look kind of nominative, singular, feminine. Don't they look like a subject form? You're right. It's because they're lame old neuter nouns who couldn't decide on their gender. So this is blocking it perfectly. It means a word. That's all that's saying, but it's also saying it's neuter, gender. But it comes from verbum, verbi. So when it's ending in um, that's how you know it's second clincher neuter, not second clincher masculine, which would end in us or like r. And so neuter is lame enough and weird enough to get a's in its subject and direct object form in the plural, which is very weird. So when we first see this, honestly, if we hadn't seen debemus and knew that the subject was we, we'd say maybe that's the subject actually. But we already know we have a subject. It's not the subject, so it has to be the accusative. So that's what we're going to blame. And now what case is magistri nostri? Kaylin, what case is magistri nostri? Good. So how are we going to translate this genitive if it means like our teacher, right, Nelius? So it's the words blank our teacher. The words what? It's genitive. What preposition do we use? The words starts with an O. The go-to genitive preposition. We gotta know it. We gotta know it. David, what is it? It's the words. Starts with an O, ends with an F. Yes. So the words of our teacher, right? And then they just threw this in to make it look a little more complicated than actually is, comma, my friend, which again is just vocative. I should make it orange, but I didn't because I hate vocative. Okay. So debemus is first person, plural, present tense. We use the pronoun we. Culpare is an infinitive. So it's we should blame. In this case, we should not blame because it's non-debemus. Verbo is the accusative, plural, direct object, and amica is vocative. Any questions on this? Okay. What? My favorite color? Oh, I guess I would say purple.
Really?
Yeah, purple's pretty cool.
That's I think black color.
Whose?
Marina.
I don't know her.
She's my sister. He's thing, and he'll probably have it.
Okay. What's your favorite color?
Black.
Okay, interesting. Most people,
Teal.
a lot of people like teal a lot for whatever reason.
Teal is like my last favorite color. Then it's like the black. I think it's pink. I like pink since I was little. And then I like black, and then I like teal.
Pink is tight. I used to say blue, but then I realized it's so boring that like I don't want to say it anymore. Blue.
My mom's favorite color is red, and my dad's favorite color is blue.
Interesting. Yeah. Wait, you said your mom's favorite color is blue? Right. Well, that used to be the thing that blue was like. If you were a guy, like you had to like blue, and if you're a girl, you like pink and or maybe. I guess red's a little different actually. What, Neelius? Indeed. All right, guys. Let's run through these real quick. What's tomorrow? Anyone?
Thursday. It's Thursday.
Yeah. And what's on Thursday?
Tomorrow's crass.
Right. Tomorrow. Yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. No, I'm not picking it up. Voices off. Let's have back row only. Back row. What is Diabus? Do you reckon? It's close. Is it God who's a guy or goddess? Right. Voices off, except for back row. All right. That's goddess. So y'all won't see this on the quiz. You'll see this as you'll see this, not Diabus. If I put a noun on a vocab quiz, I wouldn't take it out of the nominative. That'd be kind of weird. I mean, maybe if I wanted the vocab quiz to be like really hard. But no, you'll just see this, but it'll be goddess. But if you see this, know it's the adverb or the dative of goddess. This is what back row? Alora, you should be absorbing this. This quiz is tomorrow. This is God masculine, right? Lowercase god. These are Roman pagan gods. D is anyone? No, it's not day. That's a good guess. This is gods in the plural. Gods just gets all kind of weird forms. You would think it'd be DEI, like Dei, but no, I won't. What else? What else? Two more for back row. Not that one. This back row. Do y'all know this one? Yep. Student. Good. This is a perfect cursed word for Sam to try to learn. It means student. The scipula. We get words like discipline and disciple from it. Last one. This is a male student. What is insidiae, back row? Yeah, ambush, plot, or treachery. I'm gonna put that on the quiz. It's one of the only hard nouns. All right. It's tomorrow. Richard and Natalie's row, second to last row. What is liber libri? Book, not free. You won't get it mixed up with free because free won't be on the quiz unless I'm like really mean. Tyrannus, tyrant, vitium.
It means not life.
Yeah, not life. Caden, what does vitium mean? Jake, what does vitium mean? Jake, stop. Chill out. What is vitium? See how chaotic the class gets if just one person's having an extra conversation like Caden and or Jake and or Nathan are. No, it wasn't you. What is vitium? Anyone in here at all? Carson.
I know.
Not what is it, Ella?
It's like I always think of the Flintstones because of your presentation you gave. So,
But Flintstones, you might be thinking of Flintstones vitamins, which is for Vita Vitae. Ava, what is this? Yeah, this is vice. So vice is apparently a word that's not actually coming from vitium, but it might help you remember it because do y'all know what the word vice means? It's just a fancy older word for like a crime or like something bad. Like everyone has some vice or like Batman. Oh, I don't. So that's a good. But yeah, but that doesn't. I know, but anyway, so that's a different kind of vice. There's like 3 different kinds of vice. There's a vice grip. There's a vice like a crime. I don't know. Like, isn't that a word? A vice grip? No, it's like some kind of wrestling move. It's like when you're like choking someone. And then a vice principal. That's a third use of the word vice. I don't know what that use is, honestly. Obviously, it means like assistant. Yeah, it means second, right? I don't know where it's coming from, but it's coming from probably a different root than vice. But anyway, this means crime or vice. It can mean fault too, but fault might make us mix it up with culpa. So culpa is like the baby version of this. All right. Okay. Second row. Second row only. Voices off, Grace, and everybody else. Second row. Gricus. And just second row. Greek. This means Greek, okay? It's an adjective. It can function as a noun. This would be like a Greek. Perpetuous, second row. Nathan, stop. Yeah. Perpetual is the easiest one to remember for this one, obviously. It looks like perpetual. Perpetual is coming straight from this adjective. All right. What?
Second row from the back. You're telling me this.
No, I don't think second row. Like, how was that confusing?
Was that a voice crack or did you just try to do a voice?
No, that was me crying. But how is second row confusing? I know there's this desk right here, but that shouldn't make it confusing what the second row is. I mean, your row, Macy. 3 more for y'all. Plaintiffs. One of those days, guys. It's not going to be poina. So second row doesn't know this one? That's good. Sometimes it's good to see that what you don't know. Carson? It doesn't totally mean plenty. We get plenty from it, but it means more like full or generous. We haven't seen it in a sentence yet today or yesterday. So y'all need to study this one because I'm going to put it on the quiz. One more for second row. Salvus? It's an adjective. Kaylin and Grace, please let us focus. I beg of you and Alora and Maddie, please. I don't care. Safe. Okay, Kaylin somehow remembered it last minute. Safe, front row. Guys, like, honestly, like, Maddie and Alora, like, I feel like y'all don't, I will be literally quizzing you on these words tomorrow. This is your chance to, like, see how much you need to study an essay. And instead you're like, oh, it's our chance to have a private conversation. Okay, anyway, guys, come on, bear with me. Secundus, first row. Secundus.
Second or favorite.
Yep, second or favorite, so it's pretty easy. Vestair?
Our.
You're close, but it's not our. It's your. It's y'alls's. Que.
It's like ending for a question.
We still haven't seen que. We'll see it next week at some point, and we'll talk about it. But it won't be on the quiz. It's basically another way of saying and. You put it on the end of a noun, and it means an and is happening before ignore that noun weirdly. Ubi?
Where?
Where? What is ibi?
There.
There. Nunk.
Now.
So those three, I think, are the hardest ones. Ubi, ibi, and nunk. Ubi, where, ibi, there, nunk is now. I think those are the hardest ones because they don't have any related words in English. Quare, we saw it today.
Therefore, wherefore.
Therefore, or why, delete wherefore from your memory. You don't need wherefore. Possum.
I will be able to.
Yeah, to be able to. To be able to. Tolero, to.
All right.
All right. Okay. So y'all can make flashcards or whatever for the last 5 minutes of class. And does anybody? Well, y'all say goodbye to Ella.
Bye.
Ella, hopefully your house doesn't smell as smoky as the school does right now.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Will there be a Zoom tomorrow since there's a quiz?
Oh, that's a good question. I will start Zooming late in the day. So it'll be like, I will Zoom. It won't be until like 8:10 at the earliest. Because we'll talk about history in the remaining time. But if someone's taking their quiz the whole class tomorrow, then maybe I won't. So just kind of like stand by. You can kind of sleep in maybe. You don't have to like be here right at 7:50. So we'll try. But who knows? Maybe somebody in here would. I mean, it's a vocab quiz. I don't see anybody taking more than 10 minutes. So anyway, most likely around 8 o'clock. All right.
Okay.
Or 8:10. See you tomorrow.
Bye.